Imagine a perfectly balanced structure. Apply a single ounce of unexpected pressure to the wrong joint, and the entire system instantly shatters. Global pandemics, frozen supply chains, and geopolitical conflicts have become permanent features of the modern economy. For decades, the standard career advice was to pick a single industry, specialize tightly in one specific role, and ride it out until retirement. Today, betting your entire livelihood on one hyper-specific job is a massive financial liability. When you rely on a single paycheck from one employer, or your expertise is tied to legacy technology, outdated systems and software that companies are actively replacing, you create a single point of failure in your own life. If that single point breaks during a global shock, your income goes to zero overnight. Protecting yourself against this constant volatility requires a completely different strategy. You face a blunt choice. You can keep the short-term comfort of a traditional 9-to-5, or you can spend your exhausting off hours actively building career resilience. True career resilience is built on a portfolio of flexible cognitive skills and income streams completely decoupled from your primary employer. To figure out where you should actually spend your limited time and energy, we can map your options using the crisis-proof career matrix. This chart maps the options available to you. The vertical axis measures the time and effort required to enter a field, while the horizontal axis tracks how much job security that field offers during a major crisis. You need to look at your current career stage, identify where you sit on this board, and choose your next move before the next macroeconomic shock forces you into a corner. Let's start with the sectors that see massive surges in demand when everything else is crashing, beginning with the digital battlefield. Modern geopolitical conflicts rarely start with physical combat anymore. Adversaries can now paralyze an entire nation's economy and infrastructure strictly through digital networks without ever firing a weapon. This monitoring interface tracks the active global threat map. The sheer volume and constant worldwide scale of these digital attacks force governments and corporations to spend billions on defense. Because of this constant threat, roles like network engineers, data analysts, and information security experts become highly sought after and essentially untouchable during a crisis. This schematic of a power grid monitor shows exactly why. Essential physical infrastructure, from municipal electricity to global banking, is entirely digitized, making it incredibly vulnerable to remote disruption. The trade-off for this level of security is steep. Breaking into these fields requires 6 to 18 months of grueling, intensive technical retraining, and you will likely have to start over at the bottom of the ladder. But if you are a pivot seeker, someone willing to endure that massive learning curve, this path buys you absolute structural job security, regardless of what happens on the global stage. Step out of the digital realm and into the physical, and watch what happens when global movement abruptly stops. Logistics and supply chain management act as society's physical lifeline. These networks are solely responsible for distributing food, medicine, and the raw materials needed to keep cities functioning. When a pandemic hits or a geopolitical conflict forces sudden export restrictions, these lifelines are instantly severed. That bottleneck causes severe material shortages and rapid price inflation. You see the direct consequence of a broken logistical chain immediately at the consumer level. Entirely empty supermarket shelves, accompanied by rapidly climbing price tags. Alongside logistics experts, medical professionals and agricultural workers become the highest priority for any government desperately trying to prevent societal collapse. The intense, crowded environment of this ICU illustrates the immense frontline pressure these workers endure when a healthcare system is pushed beyond its capacity. An ICU, or intensive care unit, is a specialized hospital department that provides constant monitoring and life support for patients with life-threatening conditions. Careers in these physical lifelines are guaranteed to survive any crisis. The cost is rigid schedules, zero remote flexibility, and severe on-the-ground stress. Every major crisis creates a secondary ripple effect. Millions of displaced professionals suddenly find themselves out of work and urgently need to learn new skills to adapt. This displacement creates a massive, immediate demand for online education. Trainers, experts, and content creators who can rapidly package and transfer their knowledge become incredibly valuable. As you can see with this child learning remotely, digital education and online upskilling are proven, highly effective mechanisms for pushing through global lockdowns. Taking advantage of this means dedicating 10 to 15 hours a week to digitizing your existing professional expertise, turning what you already know into online courses or remote consulting services. The major advantage here is redundancy. You create a secondary income stream that is completely decoupled from your primary employer's payroll. The catch is that you have to act as your own producer and marketer, investing heavy upfront labor and time before you earn a single dollar. If you are an anchored professional, someone who cannot afford to quit their day job, building this kind of educational side hustle is the most accessible way to engineer your own financial redundancy. There is a final option if you want to stay exactly where you are: building a flexible skill stack. This relies entirely on mastering analytical problem-solving and rapid technology adoption. These specific cognitive skills make you industry agnostic. If your current sector collapses, you can take those exact same problem-solving abilities and jump laterally into a more stable field. Applying these insights requires mapping these three distinct paths to your current situation. This matrix maps three profiles. Anchored professional should focus exclusively on building digital side incomes. Pivot seekers must embrace the friction of retraining for deep tech or logistics. Skill optimizers should hunt for complex, ambiguous projects to forge a highly adaptable problem-solving resume. The most dangerous decision you can make today is complacency. You have to choose your trade-off, invest in the friction, and build your anchor now.